Hello, friends, and welcome back to the PlodCast. It's been a month. It's been over a month, actually. The last time we talked was WrestleMania. We made some predictions. We got some of them right. We got some of them wrong. It's irrelevant. The game's made up. The points don't matter. I'd like to thank Wrestling Guru 12K Thou once again for joining us. We had a lot of fun, and we'll get him back on real soon. Maybe for SummerSlam, we'll talk some more wrestling. Anyway, moving on. There's lots to get to today. To be honest, if you guys listen to previous podcasts I break down the third wall or the fourth wall. I can't remember now. Whatever. I let you peek behind the curtain, and I've told you things like I pre-record the poetry. I don't just do that on the fly. I know what pieces I'm going to be doing. I record them, and then I do this banter in between, and I welcome everybody, and we talk real nice, and we get close in like it's just you and I having a conversation. But that's all, that's all after the fact. That's polish on all of this. It's prefacing for the pieces. Now that the piece is fresh in my brain, I'll preface it right then while it's fresh. So that's what we do here. We peek behind the curtain, and having seen behind the curtain right now, what I can tell you is that we are out of time. I know how many pieces are there, and it's not good. So let's go. Let's just get into it. I went to a national poetry competition. I came in roughly 20th. Around there was some shenanigans in the scoring, and I never saw where I actually placed, but it's somewhere between 18 and 22nd. I do know that. So whatever, split the difference, call it 20th, call it 22nd. It doesn't matter. I went there, I put on a wicked show. I didn't fuck up any of my poems. I didn't take a time penalty. Here's the short version of what happened. I went there, I drew second in my bout, so I had to perform second. And score creep happened a little bit, but I hung in. Middle of the pack. Next round, I did my 1 minute poem. It was a horror poem. It was a risky play. I knew it was going to be hit or miss, but I thought it was going to hit, but shit, it missed. What are you going to do? I wanted to do horror at the poetry festival. I did it. Didn't work out so good. Whatever. So after day one, I'm not mathematically out, but I got a mountain to climb on day two. Day two was the harder of my bouts. I got a good draw. I got to go sixth in the 2 minute round. I did Little Poem, which we'll hear later, in a festival atmosphere, so that'll be cool. And I ended up winning my bout. So I took a 1 there. I won a round at a national competition. That's pretty cool. And then if you win your round, you have to go first the following round. So I had to lead off that round. And I did the Bard song. Some of you know it, some of you don't. I did it. I put on a show. I felt like that piece was the piece that epitomized everything that I was there to do at that festival. And because it went so early in the round, I think my scores just couldn't hold up after, 8 fantastic poems went after me and just bumped me out of the running. So that's the short version of what happened to me at the festival. I had lots of exchanges with great people. I got to drink some beers with We Flip Tables. I got to watch some great poetry over the festival. I got to eat at McDonald's literally every day. It was so disgusting. Breakfast room. This is the short, abbreviated version of this. But yeah, that was my trip. So right now, I decided that what I would like to do is take half an hour and sulk. Basically, I went to Vancouver. I didn't win. Fuck that. I'm disappointed. I wanted to throw a little tantrum. So here's what's happening. I'm going to do a bunch of poems that I've never really shared with anybody before, and they kind of shit on some of the things that I don't like about slam poetry. Yeah, and then like I said, we're going to bring it all back with a happy exchange that I had at the festival that honestly changed everything. Yeah, let's do it. I don't know where to start. We're going to kick it off with a poem called Try Slam. It's kind of an advertisement for slam poetry, and if you meet the criteria, maybe you should try slam. Do you enjoy public speaking? Do you have a silver tongue? Can you weave a web and dangle dance along the fragile border between plot points and poetic purpose? Can you tell me a poem in under 3 minutes? Can you limit the landscape of your language to one path and have a stranger walk it with you, not just say, fuck it, let's go back? Could you guide a judgmental stranger through your garden? Could you guide 5 salivating soldiers armed to the 9s and 8s and 6.7s, judgment cocked, full clip, crosshairs creep to stained glass greatness? Will they pull the trigger? Is your heart beating? Maybe they will aim high to spare your feelings. Nobody wants to see stained glass shatter. Will you show the world your windows? Will you show the world your pain? Will you John McClane your way over your own broken glass to replace a window that won't be the first and it won't be the last, just to show the world that you die hard? Can you sing me your victories? Can you cheers to your hiccups? Can you memorize it? Can you puke truth? Can you vomit on command? Can you do it convincingly, even after the 100th time? Can you stand stout in your truth? Can you walk a mirrored hallway hand in hand, naked with your truth? Do you even know your truth? Are you willing to be the flower in the hailstorm? Are you willing to be the lone loose laser cannon amongst the safe space invaders? Can you withstand the barrage? Or can you change the wind? Can you pollinate the seeds of understanding and watch closed minds blossom? Or can you at least fake it? Can you cobble together a mixture of yourself and who you think you should be to impress a roomful of strangers and make a path worth traveling? Are you a path worth traveling? Can you find the points? Then maybe you should try slam. Sometimes you don't want to do the same poem over and over and over again, but you feel like you have to because that's your best work. And you're not going to show up at the competition and not do your best work. But maybe, the place you were at in your head when you wrote that poem isn't the place where you're at now. So what do? You write a new poem and you try it and you hope that it's as good as your other poem? Or do you do your golden poem? What do you do? So you got to puke that truth over and over and over. Sometimes it gets tiring. That was a discussion that came up at the festival about living in those poems over and over again and being triggered over and over by your own work. And I don't know if that was happening to me, but when I was at a point where I was winning a lot, I was doing a lot of poems about my childhood and stuff like that. And to constantly trudge through that is a lot. But you do it because that's the game. That's you gotta evoke, you gotta use your best stuff. But, it's hard. I don't have a solution here. I'm speaking like I'm building to this revelation, but that's just the game. That's how it is. So you gotta write a new poem and constantly be fresh, and it's hard. And when the material that works the best is not something that you want to walk through anymore, like it's the past, you maybe just want to leave it there, it's hard to have the killer instinct for the game. When your pain is gone and pain equals points, where do you get your points from? So you try to be funny, you try to, be more creative with language, and you'll ultimately get beat by somebody with a darker story than yours, or a harsher story than yours. So it's hard. And if you're not willing to mine yourself for pain, what do?
Would you say if I said that I was leaving? What would you say if I told you I was done? What would you say if I said that I'm done bleeding? What would you say if this Sometimes these crimson poems taste like copper when they gush past my lips. But I just keep spilling and spitting and succumbing to blood that just won't clot or quit. But there's no retreat in me. Just pints of pure, painful poetry pumping proudly through these hardened arteries. I'm a heart attack waiting to happen. But I'm an art attack in the process of happening. Like, get this front row a drop cloth, because I'm spilling guts up here like chainsaw death in B-horror movies. And I'm just wondering if I'll ever break the dam of Band-Aid solutions and finally bleed out. Or if I'll ever get the stitches I need to finally shut my fucking mouth. See, stepping on stage, completed a Hellraiser puzzle box and opened up the door to a masochistic paradise where barbed wire metaphors and sawed-off similes become the tweed jacket and leather patches on a professor giving a lecture on how to fucking bleed. But when is it enough? I feel like I've gone 7.5 pints. You gave me my orange juice and my cookie, but I still think I might fall down. I'm lightheaded, I'm heavy-hearted, I can't be positive, I'm too A-negative, and I'm just playing in my own blood. Maybe it's time we break out the bandages. Maybe for my own good, I should give these wounds a chance to heal. Let them scab and scar and sing the stories of my skin with a respectable subtlety, because this is never gonna heal if I don't stop picking. This is never gonna heal if I don't stop picking. This is never gonna heal if I don't stop picking. What would you say if I said that I was leaving? What would you say if I told you I was done? What would you say if I said that I'm done bleeding? What would you say if this song was my last one? What would you say if I said that I'm done bleeding? What would you say if this song was my last one?
Let's bring the energy up in here. Jesus. That is a depressing, depressing song. But sometimes it's true. You know, it's never going to heal if you don't stop picking. So, what do? How do you work that? How do you figure that out? I don't know. You balance it, I guess. You just balance it as best you can. Let's move on. There's no answers. It's exhausting. Let's just move on. A positive note. I said I won a round while I was there. I won the 2-minute round that I was in with a poem called Little Poem that is arguably my signature piece. I think it's either that one or Superheroes at this point. But yeah, Little Poem. I know it's a wicked poem. It always scores really well. Probably my best scoring poem, and I needed it in round 2. I had to win both my rounds on day 2 to have a chance to make finals. And I was able to get halfway there, and then I did my second piece, and it didn't go so well. But anyway, here's Little Poem. Not from this festival, but from a different... Did I just say festival? I think I said festival. Whatever, leave it in. Roll it. Here's Little Poem, not from this year's festival, but from a festival in 2013, the Canadian Festival of Spoken Word in Montreal. Just to give you an idea of what the atmosphere is like. It's live audio from that performance. Here we go. Little Poem.
So he says to my boss, I need a night off. I got a big poetry thing coming up. And the words that came next from his mouth would change my world forever. And by proxy, yours as well. Ah, he said, in his best Barney Fife, you wrote a little poem, did you? You wrote yourself a little... Je m'en fiche de toi et tes baptises, et je te donne une coupe pour des lacs parce que tu me rends malade et tu me rends fou. My brain fucking snapped into a Family Guy-esque cutaway. My chubby animated twin raining blows upon this person until my pinwheeling fists were covered in brains. Quick scene changes. I ghost ride a car with a trunk full of limp remains straight to a lake to eliminate any trace of this mistake now. Back to reality. Blood boiling. Eyes electric, struck dumb. My only mild remedy? To walk away. Share my feelings with you. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no such thing as a little poem. That's right. There is no such thing as a little poem. There is no such fucking thing as a little poem. There's massive micros that never come up short. Huge haikus that say so much more than 17 syllables, large-ass limericks that linger longer than 5 lines, life-changing pieces of writing. These are shards of someone's soul. And how dare you? How dare you? I have never in my life written a little poem. I write epic poems, strong enough to make an audience make a guttural noise with no name like. Lines that make people stomp their feet and snap the fucking prints clean off their fingers. Rhymes designed like landmines, staccato twist minds when they go over it the first time like a pressure pad. Step on it, don't like it, step off it, cause we're not gonna stop. Poems preaching from the stage like brothers and sisters, this is our church and we're not going away. So God, grant me the patience to sneak into closed minds with cat burglar metaphors. God, grant me the strength to use my words instead of force. God, grant me the fury to keep this acid in my ink and this fire on my tongue. And God bless this stage because this is my home. And God damn anyone who thinks it's even possible to write a little poem.
So that's Little Poem. That won me the 2-minute round. Actually, it won me the 2-minute round the last time I was at that festival as well in 2013. So as far as a 2-minute poem goes, I am batting 1,000 with that poem. And that's what it was like at the festival this year. It wasn't as raucous because it was in a bit bigger of a room. But there were lots of GTA poets there who know that poem well, and they know, the whole room grunted when it was the grunt, and the snap the prints clean off the fingers, and everybody yelled the no such fucking thing as a little poem, and that's fantastic. It doesn't get much better than that to stand there and have everybody do it along with you. So that was a nice feeling. But that's not what this is about. This is about being mopey and taking half an hour to sulk and pout because I didn't win the festival. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's important for me to say that as much as I'm taking my ball and going home, and I'm angry because I lost, Andre Prefontaine, who did win the festival, put on a show of poetry that I've never seen the likes of. He was like a man possessed, just on fire, and he deserved the win. So as much as I'm shitting on that, I don't mean to take anything away from Andre, but this is my PlodCast and my rules. So back to sulking. Sometimes poets, when you meet them, aren't the person that they are on the stage. That's all I'm going to say about that. This piece is about that. I don't think it has a name, but not naming poetry I find is pompous. It's in my book. It's a thing that I did and I never gave it a name. Let's call it Finished Basement. We speak of struggle. We parlay our pain into poems and ponder privilege, permitting people a perception of our problems, a Polaroid, 1,000 words, a public declaration with perfect pronunciation, articulate embellishment, upgraded representation like we tidied the house before the guests arrived. And we got the tour of our domicile memorized, and we design our rhymes to mesmerize and turn parable the simple stories of our lives, and we feel we have the right to bring you along for the ride because you asked for something more than entertainment here tonight. So we polish our problems, spit shine our struggle to become an open house, an open book, open, hoping you'll step in just to see how we've arranged the living room. Stay for a beer and talk structure, talk sinking foundation, and ignore the mess in the basement. We don't go down there much because we can't brave face it, so we just gave it a facelift, take adjacent terms and interchange them like I was never a hoarder. That's a collection in my basement. And a poet's pen is ruthless. By the end, no clue what the truth is, just a perception perfectly presented of a particular problem that could be all in their head. The pen game has no rules. And there are no bonus points for integrity. Next time you see a poet cry, see if they cry all the way back to their seat. Used car salesman, seduction, not a picture, but a pitch, disguised as poetry. Whoa, put those claws away, baby cat. But yeah, that's the reality. Sometimes you meet somebody who doesn't live what they write. And I keep those people at arm's length. And I recommend everybody else does the same. Everybody, all of you, everyone listening, keep everyone always at arm's length, always, forever. It's sad, but just in case. I'm sulking. I don't really exist that way. I have lots of close friends. But some people are shifty, man. You gotta watch out. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Let's move forward. I said earlier I was gonna talk about score creep. There's a bunch of things. I actually made a little list of things that I wanted to say about slam. And I realized that I actually had poems that said all the things that I really wanted to say. So that's what's happening. I said we were peeking behind the curtain. I'm looking at the pieces now, and this is how I'm setting them up for you now. This PlodCast evolved on the fly. It was going to be just me freewheeling stuff, but then I'd end up saying something stupid or getting really angry or swearing way too much or, complaining about things that aren't anyone's fault, really. It's just, everybody's doing their thing, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. And you get pissed off, and you want to throw a little tantrum. Score creep. See? Even just there, in this brief, 40-second window, I'm on tangents, and I'm off topic and off track. Score creep. I hate this. This is what happens when the judges start slowly raising the scores. They don't maintain consistency, and they're supposed to. 50% for the performance, 50% for the writing. And somewhere along the way, they forget that shit. And I don't know why or how that happens, but here's a poem about going first that I wrote because I got pulled to go first 6 or 7 times in a row. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to be ready. So I was ready. I wrote a poem about having to go first. And I won the round, which I've never done before. I've never had the highest score from going first. And this poem did that. And I've never used it again because I never memorized it. But yeah, this says a lot of the things that I wanted to say. So here we go. The going first piece. Well, someone had to go first. Eat this bullet. Break this ice, crack this plastic, and smash the champagne bottle to christen this vessel before we set sail on the poetic journey that is tonight. Before we ride the poetry train to entertainment town together, we have to get the ball rolling like bowling in the direction of boredom's terrible pins. We did the sacrifice to calibrate the judges. Now I know these words, but what if what the judges just saw was a 10? And they don't even know it. The rest of us are doomed, and that sucker that goes first gets screwed the worst, and here's why. The host just drilled the judges, instilled in the judges the idea of scoring half for the writing and half for the performance. But as the night goes on, the judges can and will forget that, and buy into the story the poet sold the poet told you. If there's one thing poets can do, it's tell stories. Tell stories. Stories about stuff and people and feelings, just all sorts of shit. And it can be distracting. And there's also the matter of score creep. I'm going to tackle it. Here's what happens. The judges give reasonable scores to the first few poems, 7s and 8s. These are passing grades. The scorecard goes from 1 to 10 with 1 decimal place. In my books, you get a 6 for being brave enough to take the stage. Less than 6, and I must really hate not only what you have to say, but the way that you said it. So the judge hands out an 8.4, and the audience wants more. They want a higher score, so they booed the judges. Now, from what I understand, people don't much care for being booed angrily by a room full of strangers. So the scores creep up like wedgies. And the first few poets have a disadvantage. Never is a poetry slam more of a game to a competitor than when their name gets pulled first from that fucking hat. and that's kindling for another poetic inferno. But judges, tonight, I challenge you. I challenge you to not only remain consistent, I challenge you to seek out articulation as if the poem as a whole was the night sky and every word a star. You, judges, are the astronomers, reading the constellations between the lines, but don't neglect the stars in favor of the pictures they make. Search for conviction, judges, like determined children for four-leaf clovers on lazy summer days. Story is not a substitute for poetry or delivery. Performance poetry is what we do. So judge us on that, the words, the pictures they make, and the brushstroke we use to paint the moon, which, of course, on a night of poetry, would be the shining point in all of this. So yeah, that poem covers a lot of the things that I wanted to tackle, and it speaks for itself. So boom, saved me a lot of time. I was like, man, wait a minute, I already have this poem buried in the annals. And all of these poems, none of them are recent. They're all gripes with slam that I've had for years. And unfortunately, there's no real solutions other than to look at it and go, well, that's the game. That's the game we play. Those are the rules to the game we play, and it is what it is. So yeah. Looking at the material that's left, I've decided to make this a two-part PlodCast. Again, letting you peek behind the curtain, and we do things on the fly here, ever evolving. So, I pouted for half an hour. I decided maybe that's not enough. So, stay tuned for the next PlodCast, where we'll delve a little deeper and darker, and then we'll bring it back up with that crazy revelation that I had at the festival. So stay tuned, enjoy. Wait, I have a show to plug. On Saturday, I'm going to be in Beamsville at a hip-hop festival doing some poetry. It's probably going to be a hip-hop heavy set, so all those poetry bangers that have quick rap parts in them and stuff like that, I'm going to dazzle this hip-hop crowd with my words. And if you're into that, send me a private message. It's a camping thing. You can camp there. There'll be beer. I don't really know too many of the details. It's a festival. It's outside. It's in Beamsville. If you're interested, let me know. It's going to be fun. Follow me on Twitter, @Pojob. Join my Facebook group. And yeah, we'll see you next time, where we will conclude me pouting about not being a champion. Bye.